Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Sarah, and this is how I created the Lekku for a twi'lek from Star Wars. This can be used for LARP, it can be used for cosplay. This is a twi'lek of my own creation I made for myself for the Galaxy Awaits LARP. As long as you're not crashing through blackberries and flip-flopping through the mud, she's pretty durable for outdoor use. I run around at nighttime in the woods in all weather in these and haven't had a problem. My previous set did get stained from my hood. I just rolled with it. In this video, I'm going to be showing you just the construction of the Lekku cap itself, and I'm going to save the headband, which is integral, I will do in a separate video. And everything that's going on under here, it's a lot. So yeah, let's dig in. I want to also show you my original Lekku headgear. As you can see, I got them very long and beautiful. I was basing these more on Bib Fortuna, who had super long Lekku that he could wrap around his shoulders and wear like a scarf. The more modern twi'leks, they just pop straight out of their head and then don't dangle very far, which I didn't like that. I like them to be more really part of your mannerisms and character. I'm going for the floppy Lekku look. As you can see, this one is the old swim cap is completely torn. This is 7 or 8 years old, and I wear it probably at least twice a year. I love this ombre fabric I found. Tricks your eyes into thinking how natural it appears. So my new fabric, I'm doing spray paint it into more of an ombre look. First things first, for building my Lekku headgear is padding out a head form. There's one where the head's just a little tilted to be coquettish, but you want the super straight one. So measure your head and then pad the back out and the sides a little bit, and I use just the polyfill here and packing tape. You can use whatever you have on hand. And then I measured also from my chin to the tippy top of my head and padded it up that way. And then I put my hair up in a bun. I realized that's going to take up more room in my swim cap. That's why there's a Buddha bump on the top of this. But that's where I'm going to be putting my hair under the swim cap. And I don't think this has to be absolutely sculpturally perfect. Just about the right height, about the right width. And then I'm using a swim cap. There is the swim cap on the head form. You can see the little hair bump there. Couple wrinkles, that's okay. But as long as this bit here where the Lekku are going to attach is fairly smooth, and I'm having the sides here go almost all the way over my ears, and the back has to cover up the hairline in the back so I can tuck in all my baby hairs. It'll be just an inch or so below my hairline, and then the headband will go a little even below that, and a little point. Very, very secure. It'll keep on even a pretty heavy headgear super well. I don't need a chin strap or anything like that. We're at the design and cutting phase, which is one of the harder aspects. I happen to have the 2-inch foam here. It's a little messy, but I figure start bigger and you can always carve it smaller. Placed my dummy head here, and that's what this dotted line is. So I gave myself a little extra working room here. So I'm gonna cut it around these outer larger lines, double it. I'm gonna stack it and glue it, and then I'll have a rough shape that I can then carve down. Instead of doing one whole one to start to finish, I'm gonna do one step on each side so that as I go along, hopefully they'll be more similar. Here we have a very super de-duper rough shape. I was cutting it with the nice sharp X-Acto knife. As you can see, it's not very long, so it took a while to saw through there. There's probably a way more efficient, better way to cut, but I'm not going to be doing this very often, so I'm using what I have. We're starting big, and we're going to sculpt it into a shape. The end is going to taper down here. The rest is going to be stuffing. This is what I am using. Heavy duty adhesive spray, and I shook it well. Follow the instructions. Okay, hopefully all that dog hair won't be an issue. Alright, so far so good. I'm gonna give it some more glue, weight down with some books. So I really need these edges to be tight all the way through because as I cut it, I don't want to suddenly open up a gap. Alright, that should do the trick. Uh-oh. I got these pretty closely matched. This is where it goes at the top of the head. This will be where it's attached on the inside of the head, but I've got to scoop that out. And this is the bottom of the Lekku, which I'm going to make a little more pointy, but I just wanted to show my progress so far. So this is where it leaves the skull and starts becoming a tentacle. I've done a handy dandy line here. I need it to go diagonally down the head and then for the bottom to come down straight, but I'm gonna have this back line be the new edge. This is swirling around the back and not coming down straight. I think back to be kind of like this. Okay, I have the insides carved out, doing this doll's blade. Let's try it on for size. We're still having this warping issue. Okay, I got this. Pin with straight pins this to the head, then I can mark it up and then I'll know where to carve. This is looking great. Obviously, I'm not done. Now you can see in action. I'm going to curve it on this side, but still try to keep like this crisp corner, but I'm gonna change where the crisp corner is. Less at the top and the same on the inside. And this up here is just about where I want it. And I'll smooth out all these like chunks a little bit, but it's gonna be ultimately, it's gonna be covered in batting. So all of that is gonna be smoothed out. Okay, I don't have these pinned on perfectly straight, but as you can see, I decided actually not to cut here. It conforms actually quite nice. I think I will round this corner off more, but more importantly, I'm actually gonna change the trajectory of these back parts. Now I want them to hang straight down, so I'm gonna just cut them on the inside. So I'm gonna mark it up and try some more. Okay, I think these are just about where I want them. As you can see, the seam where I put the glue wound up being there, and over here the seam is also on the inside because I had to taper these to be facing straight down. That's gonna need a tad more work, and I actually don't want to take these down in volume really anymore, but of course I don't want to completely erase that sort of alien profile either. I think what I'm gonna do is smooth out the cut marks a little bit. If I can do without unpinning it. All right, not much of a difference, but we are there. We have the perfect height for our Lekku. We've got a beautiful alien profile without being too large. I did very, very slightly warp these into a position that is the most ideal, so I will have to bear that in mind when I glue them onto the swim cap. It's magic time! And I've drawn a permanent marker line so we can easily see exactly where we're aiming for. I'm gonna finesse it into place. I'm gonna spray inside here and then pop it on. I'm gonna hose this down. I have this memory of when I made this the first time. It was like 7 years ago. It like stuck instantaneously. This doesn't seem to be sticking instantaneously. I guess I have to hold this down until it dries. That's kind of good because I want to be able to move it around if I have to. And the edges don't have to be perfect either because I'm coming back over this with batting and that'll help it stick down even more. I think we're good to stick on the other side. Not super important. It's not adhering as well as I remembered the first time. Down. Another factor to watch out for. Oh, okay, that's doing a thing. I'm just like, trial and error, we'll see. What do you say about when you're trimming your eyebrows or doing your eyeshadow? They're sisters, not twins. I think these Lekku are going to be cousins. Definitely cousins. Oh no. I carved out on the inside too deep, plus the glue split right here. So there's a big dent, like bigger than would be optimal, but that's okay. I can just fill it in with more foam and glue that down. They're not exactly pointed perfectly down or perfectly even, but we can work with that. Okay, so this is the next day, and you can see we seem to have failed to have adhesion. Yeah, I guess I got really lucky the first time I built this. Whatever combination of swim cap and glue I used just was the perfect combination, but this is not working out as great. The Lekkus are very tacky, but it's not a super strong hold. So what I'm gonna try to do is do the edges with E6000, and then to reinforce the two separate glues bond, there's gonna be batting over the top, just sort of sealing it all down. This is batting. It's what you'd put in a blankie if you're making a blankie or a quilt. I think my best bet is to cut this into strips and then arrange the strips across here and glue them down with the spray adhesive. I was just talking to my husband and he wondered if there was a powder coating on the swim cap. And it's true, it was brand new out of the box. Maybe there was some sort of coating on it that the glue wouldn't stick to. Maybe wash the swim cap if you decide to go the swim cap route. This will just conform to all these nooks and crannies here. The point of the batting is to smooth out all these little lumps, give it a more natural, supple feeling and look. Okay, that looks super good. Everything you don't want gluey far away from the glue. Sticky right through the batting. Alright, so far so good. The batting wants to stick to the swim cap just fine. I can either cut out darts. If you're wondering what that licking noise is, my dog is licking the water off the deck. I'm sure he has water in his dish. This is a process, you get the idea. We'll just come back when I'm done. So far so good. This is where the rest of the Lekku are gonna come out as, but it'll be more like a stuffy situation. So I've pieced these together and I'm really liking it so far, so I'm gonna go ahead and just let this dry overnight. Genius idea. I put a plastic bag down so the tape wouldn't stick to it. Wrenched some tape down across it. So now it's weighted or secured down while the glue dries. And this is going to be my liner fabric. I had plenty left over apparently. Ooh, Halloween candy. I had plenty left over from doing my son's gecko costume from PJ Masks. So I'm going to do an inner layer of this, and I've got plenty, I believe, to do the entire tail. And if I mess up, then, well, I've just messed up some fabric from my fabric stash I forgot I had. Now I'm going to make a duct tape dummy, in this case using a plastic bag and painter's tape, but just cover what you have in tape. Mark it where you want to cut it with hash marks, so you know where to cut it out at to make your pattern. Okay, we have some of these broken down. This weird piece is the side of the head right here, middle leading back down between the Lekku, down here to the back. And I've already broken this one down. I feel like it's really awkward and there's going to be a lot of seams, but we'll just do our best. They're not perfectly flat, but this fabric is stretchy. You put these little hash marks on so when you line them back up again, you know you're doing it straight. Here's all the pieces laid out on the fabric, and yes, technically you're supposed to just do one side and flip it, but my Lekku are not even, which looks more natural, but I've just made more work for myself by accidentally making them kind of crooked. It's almost more work to try to make it like even and nice and straight. I don't know. So here I have very accurate dotted lines. This is the bit that goes around my face, so there's no dotted line. This looks like a lily pad. So I'm going to cut it along the dark lines and sew it on the dotted lines. I'm going to have to label all of these, then cut them out. Here are the three pieces that make up the left Lekku, the top of the Lekku, and both sides of the same Lekku. I put a dart here and a dart here. Now I'm gonna sew this curved edge together, then sew it to this top bit, and then do it again on the right side. I just kept nipping down the seams until it was perfectly snug. I sewed it a little too big to start, because of course it's much easier to start big and make it smaller. I'm really happy how fitted I got this. Okay, so at the end of the Lekku, it's recommended to put in a little baggie filled with these poly pellets, and it's got a little heft to it, just enough to have a nice natural swing at the end of the Lekku. And now I'm gonna hand stitch that closed. They're not the prettiest, but they're not gonna show. Boop, 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 boop. This is just a long skinny bag. It looks like a stocking. And and that's how I did that. You trim these little ends when you have a tight curve so they don't get bunching. Piecing it together, they weren't quite long enough. They're about the length of my leg to my toe. Ooh, they look like beautiful stockings. Yeah. That looks great. I'm gonna sew these toe points to be a little pointier so we have a little bit more of a taper. We'll sew these guys on and stuff them. I have the Lekku pieces coming into the inside out cap. So the right sides are together. This is just like if you're going to be sewing a sleeve onto your garment. So I've eased the Lekku into the holes in the cap. There might be a little puckering like you would get with a sleeve, because the sleeve in this case is the Lekku and they're just slightly bigger than the holes. So it's okay, it's going to be covered with the tights fabric, the leggings, but that gives you an idea of how to get it done. And I'm trying to sew it to the curvy part of the Lekku. Okay, I made it a little hard for myself. It worked. It worked. Okay, there we are, stuffed. It's still a little lumpy. It takes a lot of massaging to get that smooth. And I put kind of a lot of stuffing in here because I don't want a weird gap between the foam and the stuffing. Like there'd be like a little loose spot right here. So I like kind of overstuffed it, but I think that's going to be better in the long run because the stuffing will compress. This is so slippy. I've got to glue it down and then I'll wait overnight and then I'll put the tights on. So I'm going to just like spray up all under here and like hold it down. And don't forget to wear your very stylish mask and also be outside. Hey. We last left off yesterday when my spray glue got clogged. I tried my best with a little pin and taking it apart and putting it back together, but we found some Gorilla spray glue, so hopefully this will work a little better. You should wear gloves too. We don't actually want it glued to the foam head. We want it glued to the batting that's glued to the swim cap. Bring it down around the edge. I've got lots of space between the swim cap, which you can just see peeking here, and this layer. And if there's too much, you can cut it off. I wish I had a little more fabric here to glue to it right here. So these are the dance tights I bought. We love colors, and I've turned them inside out. These are going to basically clad and be the skin of my Lekku. And I've already sewed the toes to be a little pointier because the points of my Lekku come to a little rounded point. And then we're gonna go ahead and cut off the excess here. Do I worry about cutting into expensive fabric? I think I got used to it. I'm just like, get her done. But here, and this is what would normally be the butt, but this is gonna go on the back of my head, like at the nape of the neck, below where the Lekku come from. I've pinned it nice flat around the latitude of the butt of the dance tights, because there's excess fabric there when I put it on the head. So I'm going to cut off this much. This is folded, so I'm just giving myself a little line to sew along and tapering it down around the edges. Puckering are mistakes, or it's too much or too little fabric. This is going to be covered with my headband. Here goes nothing. So now you can kind of see better. I just sewed like a little flap. I got the leggings on, and in my wrenching I popped the seams where I sewed the material back here, but it's looking super good. I am so excited. It's still a little lumpy. I'm gonna have to massage it all, stuffing into place a little more. But yeah, look, you can kind of see the scaling through there. So what I'm gonna do is leave it on the head form and hand stitch some of these rumples down a little more. I want the headband to cover up this middle seam right here also. Okay, I got this bit sewed up. It was just some hand stitching to snug that seam up nice against the nape of the neck. And there's a little wrinkling here, which looks very natural. I'm gonna take it off the head form for the first time. Here's the legging layer and the middle layer, and here's the swim cap layer way under here. That's what it looks like. Okay. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I feel like it's gonna come off. It's gonna pop off the back. It's like going. Okay. That does feel better. I feel like this is gonna stay. With the headband, I'm not getting the just about to slip off sensation. I think it needs just a little breaking in plus the headband. Scarf test.
Thanks.
I could tuck this in a little easier. It's happening! To wrap up, I just want to say I recommend the Gorilla Spray Glue. I recommend washing your swim cap with soap. Your Gorilla Glue, any kind of spray glue is not going to stick to that brand new swim cap. It absolutely needs to be washed or you're going to run into the same trouble I did. I persevered, but you can learn from my mistakes. And the only last thing, I think I would want these to be a little more tapered. This seems too blunt to me, so I might fix that later. I highly recommend just giving it a try. Grab the materials, use what you have on hand. I have been cosplaying for basically my whole life, between Halloween, SCA, Norwestcon, Comic-Con, LARPing in general. I have so much experience under my belt. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. You learn so much more from making mistakes. So I hope you try it and enjoy. Subscribe, links in the description, all that jazz.